Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today we're back on the website of French auction portal Intranchere, and we're going to have a look at another auction by Vichy Auctions, one of the big French auction houses. We've seen a couple of their auctions already for this month, but this is the final instalment of their March auctions. This one is finishing on the 31st of March. It is the 25th today, so there's still a little bit before this auction finishes. So this particular auction, 24% buyer's premium as kind of standard. Another 400 lots. Like I said before, they like to churn these things out. As per our other videos, we're just going to really go through this really quickly because I think all these auctions have actually been lower tier stuff. So this is not their main high-end auction. So a lot of the stuff is pretty much mere core stuff, the same stuff over and over again. So we're not going to kind of cause people trouble by going over too much of that stuff because it gets a bit samey. Before we start though, I'd just like to say if you do enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing or like or comment because it really does help, and hopefully I can vary up the content a little bit in the future to make it more interesting. So yeah, just a reminder, French auctions, so if you are outside of France or outside of Europe, bear in mind import-export fees, any CITES restrictions, all of that usual fun stuff. Anyway, I've been talking enough now. We've got 400 lots to skim over, so let's have a look. So first of all, we start off with lots of mere core violins, but let's have a look at this one. So fairly standard looking mere core violin, but I'm not against it. An Eastern countries violin labelled Jan Palikowski, made in Krakow 1951. Let's have a look at that. Interesting outline to that, but it looks quite neatly made. Yeah, interesting, quite rounded upper and lower bouts. 200 euros. Well, it looks in pretty nice condition. 362, a little bit long. Varnish is quite orangey, almost kind of French. It's a small 1/8 Miracle violin companion, one of the budget kind of things. I think these are quite nice for child's violins though. 20th century German, we can go past that. Let's have a look at 20th century viola. Why not? Let's have a look at it. 394, not especially big, but could be worse. Curious looking thing. Stefano label. Okay. It's got some slightly odd kind of corner work. Varnish and button is a bit strange. Be interesting to see what that looks like in person. Some JTL stuff here again. German violin, early 20th century, good condition, 300 euros. These pictures are quite dark for some reason. Let's carry on. 3/4 violin there. Looks in a bit of a state. 19th century violin, refinished, some restorations. Hard to say what's going on there. Miracle violin, 19th century. So I think this auction is slightly better than the previous one. Slightly kind of more interesting stuff. Another Miracle violin here. Oh, interesting. Quite similar to one of the ones that we saw in the other auction. Different, this kind of almost checkered kind of purfling. Yeah, it's kind of interesting there. 200 euros, I quite like it. Quarter size miracle, more miracle stuff here. As you can see, we're already at a slightly higher level. Let's have a look at what this is for 400 euros. Looks in pretty good condition, but not super exciting. More half size miracle, 20th century. The 19th century miracle violin, we can already see that the level of this stuff is a bit better. 362, all these slightly bigger miracle stuff. Some more German violins here. Let's have a look at this one with the rocker label. Fairly nice back on that. More kind of 20th century stuff. Viola, let's have a look at this. Small size viola, 378, that really is quite small. Nice instrument though, but very small for a viola. 20th century with the Franz Kulchnek label. Not super exciting, but €800 I got on that. Some bows, let's see what we've got. Half-size bow by Morison Frère. Interesting that some of these kind of curious French bows with this slight wood in between the metal bits on the button. Let's see what else we've got here. See if we've got any decent bow. Let's have a look at this. Another bizarre bow there. Okay. See if we've got anything else of note. Let's move on for now. And okay, back into instruments. More miracle stuff. It's a German violin with different purfling as well. Oh, right on the edge on this. Decorated edges. Don't mind the back on that. It's quite nice. 355, €100. It's not too bad. Bit of a broken button and a few issues there. Another 20th century French violin made by Mays, 1938. Varnish looks a little bit bizarre. More 20th century violins here. German violins, second part of the 18th century. Head replaced, many restorations. Wide and thin F-holes there. Lots of repairs on the table, but still kind of charming. €600, a bit more interesting than some of the miracle stuff. And speaking of that, more miracle things here. German violin, 20th century sculpted head. I bet this is quite horrible looking. Yeah, it's not the greatest. More kind of violins with decorated edges. More German kind of stuff. JTL, German violins. More miracle stuff. 18th century French school with a mast label. Changed head, 363, sound post crack. Quite nice back, but this needs a lot of work. Button is damaged, €400. Well, it's going to cost a bit to get that up and running. It's going to cost a few €1,000, I think, minimum, to get that on. Onto a few more bows. Do we have anything good in the bow department? Let's have a look at that German bow. Silver mounted, fairly good condition. Looks like a nice enough bow, fairly plain, but could be alright. It's interesting. Cello bow stick from the Mayer Peugeot school, bone button, €300. That's kind of an interesting bow. Quite like that. Looks like it's got like an open trench frog. Let's see what else we got. More stuff here. I think we can carry on for now. Some more miracle stuff. More miracle. 3/4 size cello. Interesting. Have a look at this. Probably French 18th century violin. Table and head replaced. Okay. Interesting kind of square shoulders there. 3/4/8 length of back. That's curious. Set of 2 violins. Okay. That is pretty bonkers looking. That is fairly horrible. Right, German violin, late 18th century. Fairly good condition. In that kind of Hopf style kind of shape there. A lot of German stuff. This is pretty bonkers. A round kind of edged violin. Quite like the scroll though. Curious to know what those sound like. 20th century violins there. German late 19th century. Let's have a look at that. Crack on the table. Nice bird's eye kind of back on that. I don't mind that. €200. Needs obviously substantial amount of work, but curious. More miracle stuff. JTL. More miracle. Let's have a look at this. Violin by Delbert Delblay, Miracle 1923. So there we are. We're looking at a few miracle stuff. We're not avoiding everything, but we can't look at it all. 20th century viola 420. It's a good modern length there. Needs a bit of TLC there, but could be a good instrument there. €400. Not too bad an estimate. Okay, interesting. Violin by Louis Mortessier, Miracle, around 1820, 360 there. Non-original piece at the level of the Fs. Is that here? Looks like there's some replacement thing or something. €150 on that. That's quite a nice looking back to me in any case. I quite like that. A fairly nice looking scroll. Just shame about some of that work there, but I think that's not too bad. €150. Looks interesting to me in any case. Right, okay, here's one of their special ones. Violin by Erla Bjork. Made in Saint Cecile 2000, okay. €800 on that. Looks in pretty good condition. More bows. We've got anything good in the bow department? Let's have a look. That's a half size. Maybe we've got some more on page 4. Oh, that's an interesting button. German violin bow, silver mounted. I don't think I've ever seen a button like that before. Interesting frog as well. That's quite rounded, almost like a Viome shop style frog. Interesting. €200. Curious looking button that. Definitely not seen on. This looks interesting. Violin bow from the Picata workshop around 1860. €300 estimate. Yeah, kind of an interesting bow, that one as well. And more instruments. German, some kind of French. Let's have a look at this 20th century one. Yeah, nice enough back. €300. It's kind of not too bad. More miracle, more German. This one looks a little bit wonky. Late 19th or early 20th century violin made in the Maggini model. Okay. Slightly curious, isn't it? That's quite nice. Nice kind of inlay in the back there. And the neck is separate. That's got some charm to that. Someone at least made an effort then to make that kind of look a bit older potentially than it actually is. So I quite like that. €200. Not a bad shout. Let's have a look at this one. Violin, €10. Perfect. 360. Wow, that's some weird choice of wood. That is really quite odd. Some extremely weird things going on with that violin. So €10 makes sense. 20th century German violin. That's looks a bit horrible as well. Okay. More miracle violins. Eastern Country violin, bearing the label of Guarnerius. Okay. Slightly curious. Okay, moving on. More miracle stuff. Looks like a miracle violin that's had a bit of a tough life there. Okay. 19th century violin. Let's see, what's this? 358. Yeah, looks kind of interesting enough. More miracle stuff. Let's have a look at a 20th century miracle violin. It's got a Bergonzi label. Looks like your kind of fairly typical French thing of that time. More miracle violins. Let's have a look at this 20th century violin with a Stark label. A lot of this stuff really starting to look fairly similar. €1,000 on that. Some more bows. That's curious. French 19th century violin bow stick with back rise and button. Okay. It's been spliced, I think they're saying. Bit of odd things going on. Yeah, slightly strange. Let's see what else we've got. Some more bows here. That's some weird stuff going on there. €200. Wow, what's going on here? Bazin school violin bow, nickel silver mounted with back button, back restoration with ring. That's a huge ring. I mean, this needs some severe work as well. Which in the head, it's got a nice head on that. It's just a shame that some real dodginess going on at the back of that bow. It's just unfortunate. Some 3/4 miracle, or like 20th century stuff here. Right, let's have a look. Violin by Jules Chalard in Agen, 1928. 357. Some other industrial violins. Some more named ones. Violin by Javier Portales, made in Valencia, 1958. Okay. €300. Interesting edge work on this one. There's that kind of non-purfled. It's just got like heavy edge work and maybe like a scribed line. Okay, it's curious. So I presume like an amateur maker or something. 19th century violin. The Bernadelle label looks much the same as many of the other stuff. Let's see, more miracle stuff. 19th century miracle. That's interesting. More miracle. We're in the C, the miracle C. This looks a bit better. French violin from the early 19th century. Probably from the school of Nicolas Violas's. Some worm traces. This is a bit more appealing to me. This is quite nice. Having looked at some of the auctions recently at some things which are probably Nicolas Violas or associated, it has those kind of vibes. €400. That could be. It's an instrument that could probably look quite nice. Probably sound pretty good. What else? More miracle stuff. This looks interesting. This is my kind of thing. French provincial violin, made around 1750. Basically, it's like if it's not made in Paris or not made in Miracle or any kind of known place, it's just provincial. So needs a lot of restoration. I like that though. That's a nice instrument. Shame about some of the restorations needed, but that's nice. 359. It's not terrible size. Let's have a look at this bow here. Violin bow from the Goulart school. Let's see what else is going on here. It's got a little bit of damage to it. Let's see. That's another interesting bow. German bow. Silver mounted. Little kind of square or diamond inlay rather than the kind of circle. That's interesting. This looks quite nice actually. Viola bow from the Simon school, ironwood, bone button there. I love this lapping. That's really beautiful. Nice colour. Interesting. Let's have a look at this bow actually. This looks quite nice. Violin bow by Morizon Frère, 1950, silver mounted. Yeah, fairly interesting bow. More Mircore violins, it seems. This is interesting. Double bass. Mircore damage. Part of the table missing. Yep, I agree. It's definitely missing, or it's a skeleton bass. That is in a horrific condition. That's really been tossed around a bit. Another JTL violin there. Industrial violin. A Chapuis. Perfect. Violin by Augustin Chapuis, made in Mircore around 1775. Perfect. 359. €500. Nice. I'm a big fan of stuff from the Chapuis workshop. I would like to own one at some point in the future if I get a chance. I like that. That's nice. 20th century Mircore. Let's have a look at that one actually. Once again, it's kind of, that one's a bit of a lower tier one, but similar kind of outline to some of the other ones we've looked at. Unvarnished violin. Let's say an artistic violin. What is that? Someone's literally been painting it. All pretty standard stuff there. 19th century violin, various restorations. Once again, looks pretty similar to lots of the other stuff we've seen. 3/4 violins there. Let's see, Mircore violins. Strad labelled violin. Let's have a look at that. Nothing too exciting. 18th century, another French provincial violin. This one a little bit in a worse condition. That's interesting. An inked purfling on the back there and on the front. That's curious. €700. 360 back. That's kind of unusual. I can't remember seeing many French violins with ink purfling. Let's have a look at this bow. This looks fairly nice. Labert viola bow. Yeah, that looks kind of okay. It's probably a fairly decent bow. Let's see what else we've got. Okay. Any other kind of bows? We'll skip that for now. More half size here. 20th century German, 20th century French, 19th century. Nothing really screaming out at me so far. Looking all fairly similar. Let's have a look at this 3/4 Mircore violin. Why not? Whoa, that is a crazy, that is a mad painted back. That's crazy. That is a prime example of painted varnish if ever I've seen one. It looks almost like a kind of blooded zebra or something. That's pretty strange. Well, nice hand carved peg. I don't know why some of the Vichy photos are super dark sometimes. I don't really understand. There's something wrong. Forgot to put the flash on or something. Pretty strange. More 20th century Mircore stuff. It does get very repetitive. Right, double bass bow. Nice. €80. Yeah, in the German style. Let's carry on. More bows here. Let's see if there's anything else worth looking at. Let's just check this one. Violin bow, nickel silver, Bazar workshop with a German button. Quite like that head. It's kind of quite slender. I always think of those heads as more viola type heads, but you do get violins like that. 19th century violin. Doesn't look too super exciting. 19th century violin without its head. Yeah, it looks like that. Very, once again, another standard kind of French type looking thing. German violin, beginning of the 20th century. Been heavily messed around with, I think. French violin, circa 1770 to 80. Signature of Joseph Fechier. Another one that looks like it's got inked purfling. I must have just never really paid attention to the fact that you get some French violins with inked purfling, but €400, I like that. This is not, it's obviously got a lot of damage to the varnish and needs a lot of attention, but quite like that. It's quite nice. 360 could be quite nice as a maybe Baroque or classical kind of setup instrument. Let's have a look at this Mircore violin. This looks like the Breton, like standard kind of thing, orangey varnish. Let's look at this kind of slightly odd thing. 20th century violin, iron mark, Marius Ligarius in Paris. Slightly curious purfling there. It's a little bit wonky. It's got charm though. We'll give it that. Some more Mircore stuff, some more German bits here. Let's see what else we got here. Mircore, second part of the 19th century. This is that Didier Nicolas style. That's quite a nice back on that. A bit of a broken button. A few kind of issues here and there. €700. Yeah, could probably be quite nice when it's sorted out. Let's see, German violin. Eastern countries, early 20th century. Don't know why some of these things are apparently Eastern countries or French. Some of them are pretty similar and looks kind of French to me, but I mean they are the French experts, so I guess they hopefully know what they're doing. Some more bows there. Let's kind of go on to the final page. I think it's the last bows. Let's have a look at this bow. 20th century German violin bow. Nothing too crazy there. That's quite nice. Bazaar School bow. €200. So, not too bad. And this is cool actually. That's it. Probably English violin bow in exotic wood. Fairly good condition. Interesting frog that. €100. Yeah, I quite like this. Actually really reminds me of a bow that I saw that was definitely English, like a cello bow in that kind of quite heavy style. I think that's a really interesting bow actually. €100. It's probably one of the most interesting things so far in this auction, I'd say, just because I'm interested in these kind of old bows. This one looks interesting with its missing button. German cello bow in ironwood. It's quite nice. Quite nice frog. Yeah, the look at that head is actually quite beautiful. Look at that. Look at that sweep and the cut on that head and that sweep down. That's a really nice looking bow, to say. Yeah, it's quite a nice looking bow. Ironwood without button. Yeah, that's quite nice. Yeah, really nice cut. Head is really nice on that. Right, so that's basically it. That is the end of this auction, the Vichy auction for the 31st of March. Few interesting things here and there, not super exciting to be quite honest, but this is like the budget one, not the super high end one. But a few things in there that I think are kind of worth having a look at. So yeah, I'll put a link in the description as always. Check it out, see what you think. Yeah, you might find something interesting. If there's anything that I've missed that I should have looked at, then please let me know. Any comments on anything, let me know, and yeah, just give me your general thoughts. So thanks a lot for watching as always, I appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. Many thanks for tuning in to the Musical Instrument Investigator. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please like, subscribe and turn on notifications, and watch out for the next video coming soon.